Hello and welcome to the Bond Revisited podcast with me, Tom.
And me, Joe.
After watching and ranking every James Bond film, we're now keeping up with all the latest Bond news, hoping one day that we see the return of Sweaty Sean.
Someday.
It's going to happen.
He's in my dreams.
We have the technology, I think.
AI like can replicate.
The AI water physics can really capture the essence of Sweaty Sean, I think.
ChatGPT version 6. Sweaty Sean coming soon.
Yeah, I hope so. Whatever we need to do to power that, let's make that happen.
All the trees burning, all the water used just for Sweaty Sean. It's fine.
Well, we need the water, definitely.
Yeah.
That's where it all went. Well, it's been a little bit. I say we've been keeping up with the latest Bond news, but we've gone on a little bit of a break, so I do apologise. The last time we left everybody, Jeff Bezos had just taken over the Bond franchise. And I want to say it's been quiet, hasn't it, Joe? Not much has happened in the Bond world. Just ticking along, coming along. Like, I hope something happens. Just sitting around and been quite quiet. So that's been quite handy for us.
I've been so bored. I've been driven to alcohol.
Oh, were you not drinking before?
A lot more now.
Okay. Oh no! Oh goodness!
Dangerous.
Dangerous levels. Okay. Well, you can put down the drink.
Put down the wine glass. Okay.
Put down the wine glass. Get your martini glass, because we do in fact have plenty of Bond news and things to discuss.
Hallelujah.
Yes, finally. So just to be clear, we are going to be focusing on the video games for today. There's lots to discuss. Bond 26 is in full swing, it feels like, but we're not going to be discussing that today. We're going to do that on a different day, a different episode. Instead, the most recent Bond news for us is about First Light, so we're going to be focusing on that and talking about the games for a little bit so we can give our impressions and what's been going on there.
Indeed. And, not to date this podcast too much, but we're fresh off the presses with this stuff, right? We've just seen a lot more of the new James Bond game, First Light. So we've come together. We haven't spoken about it yet. This is going to be like kind of a first time talking about it together. So you're hearing it first, folks.
Yes. Yeah, it is like about an hour ago that the stream finished and we just couldn't wait. So here we are talking about it. So I guess maybe just a little context, I suppose, going into this. Because the thing that I think people are going to forget and probably have already forgotten is that this game was announced in November 2020. Like it's really awesome that we are finally sitting down and talking about this gameplay wise, but I think it's worth reminding everyone, November 2020 it was announced. We heard nothing for nearly 5 years, and then it was properly revealed in June 2025. We got that nice lovely trailer that was very good, and now we actually have proper gameplay and a proper release date, but it feels weird to be in this place because, that game was just like a logo for nearly 5 years, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is. I don't know. When you say that, and I think about how long it's been, that is obviously on paper a long time. But equally, I guess I've done a really good job in my own mind to just sort of compartmentalize that and know. I guess it's what anyone does with video games or things that take a long time, films or what have you. But I've just put that in the back of my brain. I've said, I know it's there. I have faith in it. I know that it will hopefully turn out good. It will be done when it's done, right? It's kind of like, I don't know, GTA 6, things like that, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 6, that sort of thing. This is my version of it, where I'm just putting it away, and now it's finally time to bring it out, blow the dust off, and actually start to get excited for it again.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, that's what the alcohol is for, right? You're now hungover the next day, what happened? It's like, Joe, there's a game. What? There's a new game.
And when I just had little remnants of the trailer, I'd whack myself with a bottle, and then that would really make sure.
Exactly. Just to make sure you're there and awake. So,
yeah.
I guess in terms of me going into this gameplay trailer, I was a little bit split going into it because I think that initial trailer, we're not going to break that trailer down. I think everyone's seen it by this point, but 90% of it was excellent. Just a lot of energy, a lot of classic Bond stuff. But I was firmly on the side of he doesn't look like James Bond for me, and it was feeling a little bit off. But again, everything else in that trailer was so good and so on point that I was still excited. But to be honest, I'm still struggling with this guy and the way he looks and stuff like that. I want to say you were a little bit softer on the look.
I
want to
was. I
say.
think. I mean, I'm a. Let's just get this out of the way. If you haven't listened to the podcast already, I'm a simple man. Right? I'm easily
Okay.
pleased with most things, and so just the sight of a new James Bond game was enough for me. However, yeah, obviously this is a bit of an origin story, how he became the Bond we know, younger Bond, and I think for some people that's kind of created that bit of gap in it not feeling enough like Bond. But I'm wondering, is that the case for you, or is it literally just the look? You're fine
I
with it
think
being
it's
young Bond.
yeah, I think it's a bit of both, to be
Okay.
honest with you. And I think after today's gameplay trailer, well, obviously we saw a lot today. There was about 30 minutes of footage. We'll go over that. But even after that, I'm still a little bit off on it. And I think it is kind of what you're saying, where he is a bit younger and also the face. You know, people say Tom Holland, and I don't want to agree with them, but that feels quite apt. And it feels like a
Yeah.
lot of people are resting on the scar as being something as in like, oh wow, they've actually given him the scar, which, as my understanding is, that's from the book, a very classic thing from the book to really like separate James Bond. But to me, that makes it worse because that Bond in the book is extremely different to the film Bond. But this one feels more inspired by the film Bond. But they've just given him a giant scar but also made him like look really young and stuff. And I guess to me, it feels like this weird mishmash of different styles of Bond, which I guess when you're creating a new Bond, you're always going to get a little bit of that, right? Like how even with like Pierce Brosnan, you can say, oh, he's a bit of Roger Moore, he's a bit of Timothy Dalton, right? There's always that kind of a mix. But for me, it seems weird, like young guy with a giant scar on his face, which I guess is meant to signify he's like a vet, but he's not a vet because he's young, and it just feels a little bit confused to me. And I think that's always going to be the case for me until the game is out, until I'm playing it. It's not enough to like stop me from enjoying the game or wanting to play the game, but yeah, I haven't been able to get over that yet, and I just still think he looks a little bit off. He's still not quite James Bond to me, and I don't think I'm going to fix that until I actually play this thing.
It's I do agree to an extent in that. I mean, you say Tom Holland. Whenever I see the picture of him, it's kind of a lot of the artwork where it's him. I think he's at the back of the plane or what have you, and
Yeah,
the
that
light
shot
shining
where
on
the
that shot.
reveal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's always like young Tom Cruise to me. I'm getting from that. I don't. Yeah, that's my vibe, which is also not good. I don't want young Tom Cruise as my James Bond. Um, but yeah, the scar is an interesting choice. You're right in that it does feel a little bit like they just did it for the sake of like, look at us. We're looking at the source material. We're trying to be a bit different. This isn't just your Daniel Craig or your Pierce Brosnan. However, I'm trying not to dwell too much on the fact because there is still part of that in the back of my mind as well. Like, oh, it doesn't. I wouldn't say it feels like Bond exactly, but first of all, this is just from video and the very little we've seen so far, and also I'm kind of mentally preparing myself for that might be the feeling. It will be the feeling I get when we see the new Bond actor. Right, that's going to come at some point, and I'm sure I'm going to feel that way to begin with. Just like the games are going to be similar to the films in that regard. Brand new face, start of a new kind of chapter as Bond. Probably how people felt with Daniel Craig. It's how some people have probably felt for all of the James Bonds as a change. But that's the only thing I'm trying not to focus too much on that because I think it was inevitable, really, unless they really went ahead and had the guts to do a Roger Moore video game in 2026.
They were only brave enough
yes,
to do
exactly.
it.
But no. Ugh.
Roger would be the only one who would be like 100% game. Like, I'm sure it's in his will. Like, if I'm dead, yeah, do a Moonraker thing, put it in me. I'll be fine. Like,
Yeah, well,
put me in there, put me on the poster. I don't mind. I love Bond. Please do that. I would love it.
did you say Moonraker specifically because of what we just saw? Because it was very Moonraker vibes at some point.
Right,
So,
I guess you could say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I mean, I agree with you totally, which is why I'm willing to be a bit lenient. But one thing that is not helping is they're almost very deliberately not making him look like James Bond. And by that I mean when Daniel Craig was revealed, they were like, here's him in a tux. And here's him with his classic pistol and, his very Bond looking, scenarios and photos of him very much in that characters. Where this one, because he's younger, he's got that bloody popped collar. I'm so sick of his popped collars. Like, he's just wearing things and popping the collar. It's like, what is this grease lightning? What are we doing? Stop it. Bond doesn't pop his collar. No, stop it. And I got that with today's trailer, which brings us nicely into what we saw today, where it started off, where it was basically an extended gameplay look, where it was just somebody playing through one of the early levels in the game. And it started off with Bond as a chauffeur, as a driver, driving two people to this really fancy looking estate and mansion. And he's dressed up as just like a driver. And again, to me, they keep putting him in these costumes, which is very Hitman, but I feel like it's also just not selling me on him being Bond. Like, they started this off by showing him dressed this way, driving a car, a very nice looking car. But the fact that he just doesn't look like Bond, he's just in a chauffeur's outfit. Like, and I know there's a little bit of that in the Bond universe, but not that much, I would say. Not as much as you would think. Not outside of Roger Moore, anyway. And again, to me, I want to kind of buy it a bit more, but it seems like outfits and costumes are going to be a big part of it, which means I don't get to see him in more classic Bond suits, unless it's like you've pre-ordered the game.
Yeah.
So here's his specific suit from this or specific outfit from this very specific film, which also makes it look even weirder because I'm still not convinced he's Bond. Yet you've put him in a very classic Bond thing, but not like the classic Bond. So I don't think they're doing themselves any favors. And at the beginning of this trailer, when I first saw Bond, when he gets out of the car and he's in the chauffeur's outfit, I was like, I'm just still not convinced. And I think the look and the clothes is actually a part of that and is a little bit of barrier at this point.
Interesting. I see it as this is, he's had to pay his dues being the chauffeur, and then it all makes A View to a Kill make sense when he has Tibbet, right?
Yes.
It's like the prequel to Tibbet, right?
Yeah.
No, I definitely see where you're coming from, especially with all the sort of, you mentioning about the skins and that element of it, because, at the end of this gameplay stuff, we saw all the different pre-order skins, and you're totally right. Like, there you saw the skins for like the Spectre skeleton tux and the black turtleneck and the Royal Navy outfit, which is like the classic Bond look. Every time Bond has that. And it's just like, when you see this 12-year-old in it, you're like, oh, that's not right. No.
Yeah, it feels like they're running before they can walk, I guess. That's probably a better analogy, but it's like, you haven't convinced us this is Bond, yet you're putting him in all these very iconic outfits. And as you say, yeah, it's like a kid on Halloween. Like, it's not, it doesn't quite, I'm not convinced yet. And I guess while we're talking about all this pre-order content, all this extra stuff, something that's a little bit worrying is that now that this gameplay trailer's been there, the pre-orders are up, the date that it's coming out on, I'll just say is, hold on, let me get this right. I can't remember if it's the 26th or the 27th of March. Wrote this down somewhere because I'm a professional. The 27th of March, 2026. But if you go to their website, you can pre-order the game, right?
Of course.
So you've got the standard edition, the specialist edition, and the legacy edition. So the standard edition, you can pre-order, and you get the free deluxe upgrade to the game, which is basically the pre-order pack, where you get some extra outfits, which is the ones you were just describing, and a weapon skin, and also you get 24-hour early access to the game, which I'm not a big fan of, but that's a problem with the industry, not really this game. Mm-hmm. Fine. But that's the standard one. Now, the specialist one, you don't get the 24-hour early access, because the standard edition, and I'm hope I'm getting this right, I think I am. I don't like it, but I hope I'm getting this right. The standard one is the digital version.
Right.
So you need to go to a digital storefront and pre-order that version, which is why you get the 24-hour early access, because it's going to cost more, and you do it through the store, right? So you buy it, and then it just unlocks an hour early because you've bought it digitally.
Yeah.
Which means if you buy the specialist edition, which is the physical version of the game, you don't get that. But you do get the classic tuxedo skin, which you wouldn't get in the standard edition on the digital version.
Oh, Tom, I'm not used to this.
Are you with me so far, Joe? You're with me so far.
I'm not a 2025 gamer. This is all new to me, this sort of stuff. What is going on?
What about 2026 gamer? Can you catch up?
I'll be even worse. I'll be senile by next year.
You'll be too drunk.
I'll be too drunk.
Too drunk. Okay, so now, and you might already know about this, but for the people listening, there is a collector's edition, which is great, right? I think this is the type of franchise you would want a nice, fancy, classy collector's edition. So they have something called the Legacy Edition. Now, have you taken a look at this yet, Joe?
I have, but not.
What are your
not in
thoughts on
depth.
it?
So correct. I mean, the only thing that really there was other stuff as well, but obviously the standout thing is the kind of prop replica of the golden gun, right?
Prop. All right.
Which makes there's a lot of things you could take as sort of like prop things from Bond. Golden gun's probably one of the number one things you would do. However, I don't know whether it's going to be any good quality. I don't know how much it costs, but
so
I know for a
it's
fact,
just to answer that question, it's $300.
okay.
I'm not sure about here in the UK. That could easily be £300. I would guess maybe £280.
Okay,
But yeah, let's say £280, but it's definitely $300.
$300. See, the thing is, I know there are really, if you wanted that, there are really good versions of that out there anyway. I don't know. To me, I probably wouldn't go for that, but I think it kind of makes sense for being a collector's edition. So fair play.
Yeah, so there is something I'm going to reveal about this, but just stick on that as at the moment. Again, I think it's a really cool idea, but again, it feels similar to the skins almost, where it's like, okay, it's cool you're putting all this James Bond stuff in there, but this is meant to be like a reboot video game wise, and it's like completely different. It's like a new starting point. So why are you putting in Scaramanga's gun from the 1974 film The Man with the Golden Gun? And I know why they're doing it. It's what you said. It's so iconic. It's such a great prop. But it feels weird to me to be buying a brand new James Bond game and to be the extra be something from like a completely different era that almost feels like disconnected. Almost. Like I'm assuming the gun will be in the game, but we don't know that. So it almost just feels like completely separate. Like as you say, you can buy it separately. And I think as a separate prop, awesome. But almost like tying it to First Light, again, it feels a little confused. Is this new Bond? Is this old stuff? Like I'm not sure if they've quite got that balance right. And I can't see myself paying the extra money for that prop because to me, it's almost separate. I'm always like buying the game and then I'm going to have the prop as a completely separate thing. Like it's a James Bond prop or as a James Bond like collector's item, not a First Light bonus, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not going to look at that and think, oh yes, 007 First Light, what a game. It's like,
yeah, just polishing
you're
the
going to think
gun.
of Scaramanga.
Yeah.
I guess
Knick-knack, yeah.
Yeah, knick-knack in the cage over there. I guess it's just them. It's where they've got that idea of there's this new Bond, young Bond. We need more. We need more Bond. That's not necessarily enough, right? So we need to pull on the classics, the staples, the things that are going to draw in maybe the undecideds. They see, oh, a golden gun. I love that. I love Man with Golden Gun. Sure.
Okay, I also want to question that a little bit though, right? Because there's been something I'm thinking about with these games, and it's basically who is this for, right? Because I feel like the James Bond franchise, it comes in waves, and different fans are part of different waves, right? So you've got the original Sean Connery era, of course, and then you've got The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker, right? That was like the next wave of new Bond fans. Then I would say after that, the 80s, a little bit of a dead thing. You know, Never Say Never Again, Confuse the Things. A lot of the films weren't highly regarded. Then they went on hiatus. And then you had the Pierce Brosnan era. And that's where we're from, right? We grew up with that era. We jumped on during those times. James Bond was at quite a high point. That's when me and you jumped on.
Yeah.
And then I would say the next one is, I want to say Casino Royale, but I think Skyfall is probably the one to name because it's the highest grossing and most successful one ever. And then we've had this really like awkward era where the films have had longer time between. Spectre wasn't well received. No Time to Die was quite split, but then that got delayed and then nothing is happening. So it's like, I feel like ultimately this game is probably for the GoldenEye Pierce Brosnan kids, which is us, who has the money to buy this rubbish. Right, like we're old enough where we've got careers and we've been working, we could buy this stuff if we wanted.
Yeah.
Or like the Skyfall people who I guess if you were, say, 12 years old when Skyfall came out, you're now 25. Just to put that out there. So it feels like those two, because again, I think recently it's just not been quite there, and it's been like 13 years since Skyfall, which had that clear jumping point. So again, it's kind of like who it's for, really. Like, would those fans, would the Skyfall Casino Royale people actually care about the man with the golden gun at all? Like, the main reason we care about it is because we're giant nerds, but also because of GoldenEye, the video game, where it was very iconic. But that hasn't really been relevant for a long time. It was in licensing hell for a good while. So I guess maybe the people who played GoldenEye on the Wii, the remake, those people. So again, I guess I'm mostly bringing this up because it's like, yes, in a way, it's very iconic. And I think to me and you, yeah, obviously the golden gun. But The Man with the Golden Gun was the least successful Bond film ever, as far as I'm aware. And it only really kind of stuck around as relevancy because it's a cool looking gun, and also because of GoldenEye 007. So it's like, actually, does this appeal? If it's not really connected to First Light, actually, does it make sense? And I would kind of argue maybe not. And it kind of means, like, I guess this is supposed to be targeted to hardcore Bond fans like us, and we're not happy with it. So
Oh no, they're doomed.
I know. It just feels confused, I guess, is what it is, right? And they're in a difficult position anyway with this. They're never going to get it right, but it feels a little confused across the board in terms of I guess they're kind of trying to target everyone, but they also want this to be kind of like a stepping in point and a reboot, but also not really. And we're going to aggressively pull in this older stuff, but like, especially with Daniel Craig era, stripped away so much of what made Bond. Like, Casino Royale has none of that stuff in it, and that was the point. But it means that in terms of the love of those films, you know, did somebody who grew up with Skyfall, would they go back and see The Spy Who Loved Me? Because, like, actually, Roger less, please. Because it's just not their era. It just doesn't make sense to them. I don't know.
This generation is wasted.
It is, Joe. That's what I'm trying to say.
There's a generation that hasn't even seen Roger Moore's third nipple. What on earth is going on?
And they would say to you, that's a strange thing to say, and they would be wrong. They wouldn't know what they're talking about.
Yes. Damn it. At one point you had this line that I was going to make this great joke, well, maybe not a joke, a great response saying that they're trying to get everything or nothing. But now the time's passed.
Here we go.
And now it's gone. Fine. So now I just sound like a saddo trying to make it work still. Damn it.
Well, well, never mind.
Where's
You'll
my
fix
wine?
it in post. It'll be fine. Just stick to the wine. You'll forget. You'll forget. It's fine. So yeah, just to reveal the thing about the Legacy Edition, right? So you get a steelbook, which looks quite nice as well. Again, it's very classy. They're going for a very minimalist look, black and then gold outlines, 007. Again, very heavy with the classic Bond look. I like it a lot. But you don't get the classic tuxedo skin in the Legacy Edition that you get in the Specialist Edition.
What, the super expensive version, you don't get pretty much everything?
So yeah, so you don't get the early access, and you don't get the classic tuxedo skin, which I haven't seen this skin yet, but obviously it's very obvious what it's going for, right? So if you want James Bond to wear his most iconic outfit, you have to, and also you want this golden gun, you have to buy the Legacy Edition, which does include the game, to be fair, but also a separate version on the Specialist Edition to then get the classic tuxedo skin. But then if you're a hyper fan, sure, and you're like stupid with money, I guess, surely you would want to play it early because then everyone else is going to be playing it early, which means you would then have to pre-order the digital edition on the digital stores to do that. And that doesn't even bring in all the extra nonsense. You have to, because there's also, you got to sign up for an account, IO Interactive account, to get some other pre-order, to get some extra sign-up stuff. And then there's also the wishlist milestones that's currently ongoing on Steam. So that's unlocking extra content, but you might be playing on like PS5. So if you want, so it's nothing to do. Why would you wishlist it on Steam? I guess you can, but if you want to support that effort to get extra content, you then need to go and do that. And then that's not even it. You then have to go into Hitman World of Assassin. I can't speak. I'm so mad, Joe.
You're too riled up. Yeah.
Assassin and beat the Casino Royale mission because that unlocks a skin in First Light, which you then need to tie to your account. So you get that extra goodie, but that's also on a timer, or you have to pay for it. It's just like, it's one of those, I guess with modern gaming, you have to just not care to a certain extent. Like the era where you could just get everything
Yeah.
or nothing. Good one. Where you just buy a game, you got all that stuff, is just over. So at this point, just take this for the old man rant that it clearly very much is, because you just can't do it. You just have to pick your lane and just accept, like, I guess even though I could spend like £300 on one video game and still not get everything related to that video game. So you just have to like pick a lane and accept it. But it is a bit of a bummer. It does kind of suck. I do wish they were doing a better job here, but it probably is more about the gaming industry as a whole rather than specifically this game. I guess it just sucks coming up across it against a game that I'm very, very interested in.
Yeah, that's a point. I mean, I've seen this sort of stuff before, maybe not in the depth that we're discussing here, but I know about some of the just annoying and stupid and greedy things that games do now. But it's been about franchises and games I don't care about, whatever. Now this one actually means something to me. I'm just looking at it thinking, oh, well, that's a shame. That's stupid. Why'd they do that? That being said, I know that video game collector's editions often go down in price quite quickly after they've come out. So if I see that on offer, I probably would be tempted. I'm going to be honest. If it was cheaper, I might do it. I don't know.
Yeah. So what are you thinking in terms of pre-orders? Are you thinking, maybe we're jumping ahead a little bit, but are you going to pre-order? Do you have any idea which way you're going to go with that?
I think I will. I think I don't get a chance to pre-order games very often, Tom. I play point and clicks mainly.
They're not doing Minecraft 2 or anything?
Exactly. Yeah, they're not doing another Monkey Island pre-order or anything like that. So I probably will, because this is one of the few chances I'm going to have for something that really means something to me. And I'll probably do it on PC. And, you know, all the skins and gubbins that come with it, great. But to be honest, I'm not focusing too much on that. I just want to play the game, right? You know, I just want to play the game.
That's all you can do, right? Unless you want to take out a small loan, that's all you can do.
Yeah. I mean, 24 hours early, great. What if I'm busy March 27th? Who knows? Pointless. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm siding on the physical edition specialist, I think, because I just want a physical copy of it. You know, like I don't want it to be digital. Like I do buy digital games, but this is something that I want a physical copy of First Light to put alongside my copy of like Nightfire and stuff. Like I want to physically hold a brand new James Bond game and see that cover with James Bond on it. I mean, not my Bond, but, you know, a version of James Bond on it. So to me, that's like, this is such a nostalgic thing, and maybe that's the wrong way to go about it, but I have so many good memories of playing the PS2 Bond games, and even GoldenEye on the N64. I kind of want to recreate that again, which is what makes this stuff so depressing, because it's so far removed from going to game, seeing Pierce Brosnan on the cover of something, be like, I want that, and then getting it home and just getting to like play this mini Bond movie on a PS2. So, you know, it's silly to chase that too much and try and reproduce it too much. But I think the very least I can do is buy it physically, so I've got that and I can be like, yes, Bond's back. He's on the PlayStation. Awesome. This is what I want. Yeah,
I can understand that. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of almost making a comeback, which is a weird thing to say, but, you know, people realizing that having things physically is important. Just make sure, because isn't there a case where you can buy a game in a box and then you get it and then it's just a bloody code inside? They wouldn't do that,
that's quite common. Yeah, quite common nowadays. I don't think so. I think I think PS5 games don't really do that. I think that's more of an Xbox and Switch 2 thing.
Okay, good.
But it might also just be a patch. Like there can still be cases where the game is in such a bad state on the disc that you have to patch it. So
yeah.
So let's get a bit more positive though. Let's talk about what we saw today. So I've already started things off. Bond is driving through the country as a chauffeur in a nice green Jag, which it didn't look like the classic green to me. I don't know if I just don't know my cars, but I expected. Is that the classic green? Is it like what, forest green, something like that?
I completely missed it was a Jaguar until like they parked and I saw the logo really
Oh
clearly.
yeah,
So
there was definitely a moment
yeah.
they wanted you to see that.
So
Yeah.
don't ask me. I'm not very good.
Okay, fair. I'm not very good. Just not very good.
No.
Okay, so but then Bond parks up and he gets out, and I guess I'm going to hand it over to you to explain what happens next,
Okay. So yeah, it
if you
was.
can remember.
Let's see now. I mean, a lot of the dialogue. Maybe it was just because I try and listen to it on Twitch and I couldn't hear it very well. But he's basically in the car with some people when they're going to try and find 009, who I'm assuming has sort of gone rogue by the sounds of it.
That's what it sounded like. Yeah, I think some of the briefs, even before this, there was hints that 009 was going to be the villain for this.
Yeah, so he's the target of this big manor house soiree, or is it a reveal of something? I can't remember. But and there's apparently tons of agents all inside, right? Because they're all on the earpiece saying like, "Oh, I'm in the grand hall and I'm in the whatever." But Bond, as Thomas mentioned, Bond is the chauffeur. He's just the one driving, and he's meant to spend the whole time in the car park, keeping guard there. But then he spots something dodgy with a bellboy, and kind of starts to investigate, and that's kind of how we start to see the proper gameplay in action as he makes his way up and eventually into the house. Kind of, well, there's tons of different things. I don't know how much detail to go into, but I mean, there's
I guess, yeah, I guess we don't want to break it
screen.
down bit by bit, right? It's kind of, it's broken up into these different sections. The first section is just driving and setting up the scene, which looks fine. I mean, I guess that section is more just for story setup, and graphically it looks very nice.
Yeah.
It was a stream and stuff, but yeah, I guess this next one is more just a little bit of spy gameplay, I suppose.
Yeah, kind of very, as you would expect, very Hitman-y, kind of scoping, looking for ways in, overhearing conversations, distracting people, things like that, getting into the building, bit more of that inside. And then you kind of get this, I guess there's a bit of the level cut out, because after Bond gets a bit of a lead of where to go from a bartender, it just has inevitably on the screen, and then it cuts to the aftermath of whatever happened, some fight scene probably, because then we're straight into a car chase with a different car. Was it an Aston? I don't know. I couldn't even tell what it was.
No, I have no idea. Probably.
I have no idea. But I did notice. Was it in this? Or maybe it was the first trailer. There is obviously a lot of brands. They've kept the brands that are significant and tied to the Bond franchise in the game. There's Omegas. There's Triumph. I think I saw Triumph in the first trailer for the bike. Jaguars, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that leads on to the car chase. Did you want to talk about the house stuff first? Or do you want to
I don't have much to say about this beginning bit. To be honest, I got a little bored watching
Interesting.
it.
Interesting.
I feel like it's one of those where I'm assuming to play where you're actually observing, checking stuff out, figuring things out right is probably a lot better. But I felt like it was such a long driving sequence to then have him just kind of messing around quite a bit and then just lots of walking around. It was very I just kind of got a little bored. It's very kind of story, people talking, slow paced, focused, not even much gameplay really. Which again, I think if you were playing it from start to finish, it would be fine. But to watch it, the first 10 minutes, nothing really happens, which as part of a showing off the gameplay, I guess it's more honest that they're just showing it. But yeah, it was kind of, I did start getting a little bored a little bit during that section.
The problem with these sort of gameplay demos, well, I don't know if it's the case for any others, I'm sure it is, but you can tell where they're having to sort of slow down to show off things. And it's like, no one would really play like that, slowly panning the camera over and slowly looking up, and it's not realistic. It's just for the sake of this demonstration. So I guess that did tie into it a little bit in it feeling a bit slow. Definitely didn't need the whole drive up. I agree with that. I think it's nice, it looked nice, and I guess they needed to give that backstory to the level. But yeah, it's just come on, get on with it. I did like the house stuff though. I liked the thing that stood out to me most was not even the not the visuals, which looked great, but it wasn't that. It wasn't even the little amount of gameplay we saw. We saw a little bit of kind of gadget use, but it was the music. I was like, oh, this music's really nice.
Yes.
It had a really nice
Yes.
sort of strings and Casino Royale music soundtrack, and there's a bit where kind of goes up and looks over the balcony to the big event going on, and you can just get the nice. I'm such a sucker for it, but it really doesn't take much to get that Bond vibe going with some horns and a bit of the guitar twang, and it's like, yep, great, yep, I'm here. So yeah, I love the music.
Completely, yeah, that was the best part of the trailer, probably. Or best part of all of this. And the original trailer was like that too. They seem to really be nailing the Bond music. Because as you say, you only need a little.
Yeah.
But, I guess unlike Bond games in the past or whatever, now you can just get a full orchestra and just write proper music for all this stuff. And it seems like whoever is the composer is doing a great job. Then, as you say, they're just adding in all these little Bond elements. So it's just so nice to hear those be integrated into something like this. It was definitely the highlight. The music, they just seems to be like spot on for this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very impressed.
So I do want to talk about the driving. I
yes.
guess what did you think of that driving section?
I thought, well, I guess
the second
my
one, just to be clear for people listening, you get the first driving section in the Jag, and then at the end or like later on, there's a chase sequence where you're in the potentially an Aston. We don't know, but yeah, there's basically a big chase sequence that happens. But yeah, sorry, Joe.
My first reaction was great. There definitely is driving in the game. I think driving in Bond games has been a bit of a love-hate relationship. There's been a lot where it's been kind of bad, but then somewhere it's been really good. And it's like, well, you kind of to feel like James Bond, you have to have some bits in a car, right? You have to recreate some of the car chases. It's such a classic aspect of the franchise. So that was my first reaction. Great, we're in a car, we're driving, we've got a car chase. I will say it felt a little bit, I don't know how on rails it is, and I think that's a problem I have with some other car sections in games, is it just feels like you basically just hold forward and then all these animations happen around you, but you don't really have to do much. Which I guess is okay as long as it's interesting, but can't really remember much from that chase. I know you got the lady with you, like the French agent who's now with you, but it was fine. I guess my main worry, but not a major worry because I know that you'll be able to turn it off and all that, is just too much blurring. Couldn't see everything that was going on, like too much motion blur and all that. All that stuff that they had now, chromatic aberration, whatever it's called. But you can turn all that off, so it's fine. I'm not going to dwell on that. But during that gameplay, I was like, I'd love to be able to see more of what's actually happening.
Yeah, I agree. I remember, like, if I can turn that off straight away.
Yeah.
Because I don't mind a little bit, but it seems like games nowadays, if it's in there, they're going crazy with it. Everything's blurry. But again, a little bit I think is nice, but not too much. But yeah, it's interesting. I let you go first because I wanted to hear your thoughts, because I didn't want to be the negative one again. But I kind of agree. I think there was a problem where it just felt you were just going forward the whole time. And I think it's something that, again, other Bond games have struggled, in particular Bloodstone, where they just, there's a fine balance here between making something feel cinematic and crafting something that's exciting and not making it feel, as I think you said, automatic. You're not doing anything. Stuff is just kind of happening. And for the chase they showed, I think they just got it a bit wrong. And again, I thought it was a little bit dull. It gave me the Rome Spectre sort of vibes.
Oh no, that's like the harshest insult you could give.
I know, it's brutal. And I feel like PS2 Bond games avoided a lot of these issues, apart from Russia with Love, but that's a different story, by just like giving you like gadgets, right?
Shoot
like,
things, yeah.
Shoot things, right? So they have all these, you are not doing anything that crazy. You're just driving forward. It's quite video gamey. They have all the destruction, which is what this has. So in First Light here, you are smashing stuff, and that's fun. But also you're doing things. You've got 007 moments that you're triggering. You've got missiles, you've got guns and stuff. You're blowing up cars. It's all in there, and it all comes together in a really nice way to be exciting and very James Bond. Where I feel like with the Daniel Craig era and now potentially this game, they kind of handcuffed because all they can do is just drive in a car. But also this one has to be a video game that I guess they want most people to not fail at. So now we just have these like drive forward, and that's all you're doing. Yes, there's slight detours. Yes, sometimes the woman is like, go left, which, by the way, her voice actor, terrible.
I
It was
saw a
like,
lot of
watch
that in the
out.
chat. Yeah, they sounded very bored.
Very bored. They need to re-record that. But yeah, again, not awful necessarily. And I agree with you. Like, it's awesome that it's here. You need to make the effort to put this in here. But again, it feels very just sterile. It felt a little dull. And they tried to make it interesting, but it reminded me of Uncharted a little bit. And I think I got those vibes across the entire gameplay trailer, and in some ways they kind of pulled it off, but in other ways it felt like a poor man's Uncharted a little bit, where I feel like Naughty Dog was just better at crafting almost these James Bond-esque moments. And now we have a game where Uncharted was inspired by James Bond and put some of that stuff in the game. And now we have a game actually based on James Bond that's emulated Uncharted. So getting a bit weird. But yeah, again, a little bit disappointed by that. But again, I think they're just handcuffed here. And they just haven't really been able to find a way to make a more standard car chase be interesting. And this one was just like, yeah, just hold forward and win, which is just not exciting enough for me, I would say.
Yeah, it would have been nice if it had a few more, I don't know, kind of funny moments, or just, I don't know, a bit goofy. The one thing I did appreciate, kind of, if you have the Bond car chase, feels like it's a must, is to have some sort of smash through a fruit stand or some sort of stand. Maybe Perrier, right? That's the one. But there was that moment. I was like, okay, thank God you can smash through something. That's what I need. But yeah, I'm just hoping that this is the first level. It's almost, I'm assuming it's kind of maybe like a tutorial level. I don't know, kind of guessing that, but maybe later on you get more interesting cars and there is a bit of combat or a bit more to it, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on with this game, right? So it feels like at the moment this is just because we have to, but also it's more just a change of pace more than anything. But again, I don't want it to fall into the Bloodstone trap, where, just to be clear, Bloodstone tried all this different stuff, but again, they were just trying to make it fit Daniel Craig. The developer, I feel like, didn't really know how to do all these different styles, and they tried to do too much, and a lot of it just kind of came across as bland, in my opinion. And I feel like this is going in a similar way, specifically with the driving, just to be clear. And it's just not going to be the game's strengths. But again, I appreciate that they're doing it. It just feels like they, as you say, maybe later ones are a bit more exciting, but this one was just, yeah, you're just following a car you're never going to catch, which is not interesting.
How about, because it definitely followed, I mean, it was a good demonstration, a good gameplay demonstration, because you sort of had all the different various aspects of the gameplay, where you've got the first section in the house where it's a bit more stealth oriented, listening in, distracting. You've got the driving section, and then the next section where you've caught up to the car. It's they're getting into a plane, and you sort of have to shoot your way through to get into this giant, great big military plane looking thing. What did you think about that section?
I thought it was okay. It almost felt silly just how many guards there were, which, I mean, that's Bond, right? Like, what they did, that's Bond. But I don't know. I almost got a little bit of like whiplash with it, where I think some of these other older Bond games, it made a bit more sense to have a lot of enemies just due to the tone they were going for. But this one goes for very grounded, actually you driving normally, and then you going and observing this big area, and then doing a more grounded car chase, to then just like a comical amount of enemies shooting at you.
It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. I mean, whiplash is the right word.
So I'm sure it plays fine. Like, I didn't see anything I disliked. But yeah, it felt like the tone wasn't quite there. Not awful, not bad, not crazy, but just like, yeah, how did we go from this 5 minutes ago to this? But then when I was watching, I was like, that is James Bond, isn't it? Really? That is Bond. So I guess they are nailing the assignment, really. But I feel like I feel like the shooting combat needed to be a little bit more grounded to kind of fit the rest of it, almost. Where this one was just running around, just bang, 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 like 20 guards shooting. Like, this just doesn't quite feel right.
It was Bond. It's very much Bond in terms of the video games. Up until now, most James Bond games have just been shooting, because that's all they could really do. That's the one thing where I think people said, "Oh, the Hitman developer, this is great, because you can have a Bond game that won't just be an FPS. You can have a bit more to it. You can have some of the better stealth mechanics and blending in and that sort of stuff. And great, we saw that. But then I wasn't expecting it to go so far into the arcade style shooting. It was just madness with the amount of explosions going on screen, and as you say, so many enemies to kind of demonstrate the different ways of taking them out. 1 minute Bond's throwing his gun at them when he's out of ammo, and other times blowing up barrels next to him, or destroying an entire sort of walkway balcony section of a building. I mean, it's all cool, but it's I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's it definitely looked fun, looked very silly, but yeah, I just couldn't believe how far they went with it in terms of it was like Michael Bay level of explosions going on and just craziness.
Yeah, again, it feels like it's not like a million miles away from what Bond would be, but it feels like they just put the dial up just a little bit too high. And maybe it's just a marketing thing, right? Maybe it's just the trailer. They wanted as much craziness as possible, and maybe most of the actual situations won't be like that. But even then, it just didn't quite feel right. So again, not bad, but just turn it down just a smidge, guys, just a smidge. That's all we need.
Yeah. Also, just to go back very briefly to the car chase bit, one thing I forgot to mention, and they really missed a trick here to make it feel even more like a James Bond game. It was missing. There's a bit where it was like a jump on the back of a lorry that has the ramp on it. Where was the Bond moment? you go up. It needed the little ting Bond moment on screen, and that would have been chef's kiss, honestly.
To be fair, that was the best moment in that. When it went up, when Bond drove up on those and used that as a ramp, and I was like, that's cool. I like that a lot.
Exactly. That's when you needed a little no. Or maybe it did, actually. I don't know. I can't remember.
Or just a floating giant 007 symbol at the end that he collects.
Exactly, yeah. After the shootout on the runway.
The runway, yeah.
That's what it's called. You end up in the plane, on the plane, you hang on to it for a while. There's a bit of a punch up on the plane wings with some guards coming out, which is also crazy. You're just there. I mean, this is where it got super Uncharted level, Nathan Drake level sort of action. But you end up inside, and then you get this kind of weird section, very goofy, and I liked it, but the means to take out all the people inside, Bond kind of hacks the flight controls of the plane, and so you get these controls on screen where you can tilt the plane's wings left and right, and so you see him work his way through the plane, and basically using those two controls, tilting the plane to drop crates and cargo on top of his enemies and bash people out of the way with them. Very weird, but that stood out to me because I was like, well, that's a bit different. I kind of like the idea of moving the whole plane as a bit of a mechanic to, even though Bond was weirdly immune to this whole thing and was standing up perfectly straight. That's fine. Yeah. We won't question that. But I liked it. It was different to me.
Yeah, I like that too. I thought it was a really nice moment. Yeah, again, because I guess just during gameplay, you can just say, oh, there's a load of crates there. I can just tilt the plane to knock them down. But yeah, again, it feels, as you were just describing it, I really enjoyed it when I was watching that moment. But the level of silliness with this, again, it's just, I'm not sure if it feels earned, which feels weird to say. I'm not sure if I got my thoughts straight on this yet. Because I remember watching the first reveal trailer, being like, that's really cool that they're going a bit silly with some of this stuff, a bit over the top. We've got alligators, we've got a hint of Roger Moore here. Maybe Pierce Brosnan is maybe where they're pulling from, but we've got a bit of different eras coming in, and they're being less serious than Daniel Craig's Bond. That's really exciting to see. But now that we're seeing this come out through gameplay, it's like, I guess it's just because he's a young Bond that I don't think a young Bond would be doing this. Like, imagine Roger Moore when he was like 25. Would it make sense in the films for him to be doing all that same stuff? Like, no, not really. I don't know. It's just something about it. Just, I think overall, and not just specifically this bit, where I feel like you have to kind of earn those more silly moments. You can't just do those right out of the gate. Like, even Roger Moore started a bit more serious, and his big one was The Spy Who Loved Me, which wasn't quite as far in that direction. But then over time, it went more that way. And Pierce Brosnan was the same. GoldenEye was his most serious one. And once he was established, then you get a bit more of the fun and you do a bit more of a balance because that's Bond, right? It's been established. But this one is just some guy who's very deliberately meant to be young with the scar from the book, which has very little of this stuff, apart from maybe well, I guess it has its own weirdness, which is a very different type of thing, but in terms of humor and silliness. And now we have this game, and it just doesn't. Again, I go back to my earlier point. It feels like a mishmash, which is just a little bit confused. And again, I initially was like, I like a lot of this stuff, but yet the more I think about it, the more it's just like, I just don't think it quite fits.
It feels like they had a very difficult. Well, I don't know. Maybe they put themselves into the situation by having that young Bond thing. Maybe it didn't need to be that. Maybe it could have just been what fans have been craving for in the films, which is just a normal story. But it does feel like they're in that situation now where they're trying to kind of do everything at once. Be silly, have the young origin story, have the scar, I know we're dwelling on the scar, but kind of representing that literary Bond, and it's going to have some of the roots to it. Maybe, I don't know. It does feel a little bit mixed, maybe a little bit messy in the tone. I'm trying. It's difficult because I'm not one to just like completely. What am I trying to say here? Basically, kind of what I said at the beginning. I'm so excited for a new Bond game. 007 Legends, right? That was the last kind of console mainline game. 2012. So what are we at? We're going to be 14 years, really, since the last one for when this comes out. That I'm having trouble like dwelling too much on the things that I'm a bit worried about, because then I'll listen to another voice in my head and go, Joe, just shut up, right? You just enjoy this, just take it and enjoy it because you've waited long enough. So I don't know. I guess we'll see when we get to play it. But
I'm in agreement. Yeah, I am agreement with you on that one. Yeah, again, I guess I wonder how much of this is going to be after it comes out, after Bond is more fully backed and people had a bit more time with the game to kind of look back on it. I'm not making the case that it looks bad. Like, I'm not making that case at all. I think it's going to be quite good, and I think I'm going to have a really good time with it. But in terms of what it means to be a new Bond game, to what it means to be a new AAA Bond game that's trying to have all these elements, it's a very difficult thing to do, and it's getting some of the things right, but I think it is getting some other things wrong. So as you say, ultimately, none of this affects me playing the game. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to play it, and I think there's going to be a lot to really enjoy. It's just the more I kind of break it down, the more I feel like there is just this confused element to all of this that just might end up stopping it from being one of my favorite Bond games, where this has the potential to be the ultimate Bond game. But because of stuff like the young Bond and even all this pre-order nonsense and all these additions, all these extra little things that are coming in that are just not quite fitting together, it feels like it's not going to be as complete or as satisfying as something like a Nightfire was and still is, because that's still a really great time. So again, nothing's really pointing it to it being bad, but I think I am seeing these kind of signs that maybe it's going to be an 8 out of 10 rather than like a 9 out of 10.
Right.
Like,
okay.
For whatever it's worth,
Yeah. And then just to end off the bit of gameplay, we end up falling, skydiving out of the plane without a parachute. And this is where I mentioned about Moonraker earlier, very much like the Moonraker pre-title sequence with Jaws, but you have to go and kind of grab someone in the midair and steal their parachute, which I thought was cool. That's I don't know. I'm sure that was like a intended reference, but I liked it. I wish.
Yeah, I think excellent idea to have that in a game, right? It's not been done that much, really, but yeah, let's get that playable. The only thing I was unsure about with that section where Bond was falling, I was like, well, how much are you actually doing here? A little bit like the driving, where I was like, I don't know, is this actually really automated and you're just pressing 2 buttons? Because I really like the idea of being Bond diving down, trying to find somebody just to grab their parachute, but I wasn't too sure how much you actually control, but, it's a trailer, it's a marketing thing. I just don't know. It's probably never going to be that clear. But to me, I want to play that. That sounds really cool. And I think the idea is just excellent to have you do a falling Bond, playing as a falling Bond without parachute, yes, please, I'm totally up for doing that. Very cool idea.
Yeah. The only bit of faith I have in that regard is that I know, and we'll talk about it in a bit, about playing the Hitman Bond mission, and just something that is obvious from the Hitman games anyway, is that there is a lot. The whole point is that you do the mission how you want, and there is a lot of flexibility with it. So I'm hoping that transfers across even to these sort of missions, where I know that the goal is to find a parachute, but it's not just about moving left and right in between all the debris. You actually have to go and find it in the mission. Like you say, that would be really cool if you were actually given that amount of freedom in the level. So we'll see, I guess.
Or you think you fall down and you meet someone and you're like, I'll bet you $10 million against your parachute that I can beat you at cards.
And then there's roulette table.
It
just flies in.
There's just roulette table, yeah. Like someone running the casino just like comes down. Just so the game is blackjack. Just starts spinning.
That's like some Austin Powers thing right there. That's like some proper parody.
Yeah, it's very almost like Airplane something.
Yeah.
Just having like a quick gamble in the sky so Bond can get a parachute.
I guess my question to you, Tom, about everything we've seen in the gameplay today. I know there was a bit more about going into some of the mechanics afterwards, but just about that first section, did that feel like a James Bond game to you?
That's a very good question, because this was the one I was actually asking myself the whole time. Because that's what I care about, right? Like, to go back to what I was talking about before, where the important thing about a James Bond game is the feeling like James Bond. And in terms of me having that physical copy and playing a brand new James Bond game, if it doesn't matter how good the game is, if I don't feel like James Bond, put it in the bin. I don't care. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's enough there that I would say yes. You know, I think they've got the variety down. There is humor in that as well. They are doing things like that. The story, we're still not knowing it, but this does definitely feel like, you know, a bunch of people who know Bond very well, crafting this new story, this new origin story, and having all these different elements. So even though like certain parts, like again, the car chase a little bit weak, some of the stuff inside exploring, I think that's probably going to be fun to play, but it was boring to watch. And then some of the shooting stuff, again, I think some of it is a little bit off and isn't quite right, as I've gone over before. But I would say they are ticking enough of the boxes that's a James Bond game. You know, if you were to describe it, you want some driving, you want some spy work, you want some shooting, you want some kind of stunts and stuff. They've got all those elements. So for me, it's kind of ticked across the board, even if I've still got concerns with some of the gameplay, some of the, you know, the way things are tying together and the look of Bond itself. I came away from this being like, yeah, that's a James Bond game. That makes sense to me.
Good. I'm glad to hear. I would say the same. Same. That question to me, I mean, listen, I made the mistake of reading some of the comments in the chat.
Joe, no.
I don't know why I did that. Because there's some people just never pleased. The internet.
Everyone's just like, make him a woman. And you're like, yes, please. That's what everyone's saying nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Something like that. Where's the Jane Bond?
Yeah, where's Jane?
But no, so I saw some comments and they were like, oh, this isn't James Bond, or this just feels like Hitman with a slight bit of Bond skin to it. And I guess from my perspective, yes, like it does feel like that in a way, but only because that's what people wanted as well. People said for a long time that sort of game would suit Bond really well. And I think when people say it doesn't feel like James Bond, or it doesn't feel like a James Bond game compared to older ones, is that they might be right in saying that, because a lot of James Bond games haven't been very good, or a lot of James Bond games haven't actually reflected the Bond films very well. As I said earlier, like a lot of James Bond games are just first-person shooters, right? You know, you might have a little mission where there's a minor amount of stealth, but not a lot, and you might have some car chase section, which is great. That's fine, but a lot of the times it does just feel like you're shooting people down. Whereas I love the idea, and there's a bit kind of in the video afterwards about some of them going into some of the mechanics a bit deeper, but how you can go in and you can sort of overhear conversations, and that's another way into completing a mission, because then you hear someone's name and then you can take on that identity, and actually doing some sort of spy work. And that's the sort of stuff that I feel like we haven't had as much in a James Bond game, but is in the film. So to me, this does feel like James Bond, as in a new James Bond game, not an old James Bond game. So I was very happy. It had everything I wanted in it. It had a bit of stealth, the espionage, it had the driving, it had the shooting, had the craziness. So all the boxes were ticked. Some things in there that maybe weren't quite perfect, as you say, but for me, all the bases were covered. So good by me.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, like if you're comparing it to GoldenEye, Nightfire, and Everything or Nothing, which are like the gold standard, it doesn't really feel like those. But you're completely right. Like it's extremely impressive how they've been able to replicate those smaller movie moments that you see in Bond and other spy films as well, and actually translate that into gameplay. That's extremely impressive. And as you say, there's a bit towards the end, which is basically just showing, oh, you can explore this area, you can do things in different ways, you have stealth, you have different gadgets that you want to use. So there are some gadgets in here, which is, very nice to see, very happy to see some form of the gadgets. But as you say, they're actually translating movie moments we never get to see, which is a core of like every Bond film, even the Craig era of just going into a place, checking stuff out and just talking to people and having that be worthwhile. So yeah, that's extremely exciting. Whether that's going to be fun from a game perspective, because I might just shoot everyone. I don't care. I don't know. But just seeing that stuff again looked very slick, looked very well designed, very well put together. So that is something that's like, yeah, I don't think many game studios or developers could put together those moments in the way they did. And I think they're doing that in a very smart way. So that is, yeah, very exciting to see those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, maybe it was just a couple glasses of wine I had beforehand, but I was giddy after watching it. I was very happy. Yep, giddy.
Lovely. So in terms of, I guess, hype levels, is that what we're going with?
Oh yeah, what are we hyping now? Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, I just want to give like a number to it. You know me.
You gotta rank it.
I like to rank stuff, give numbers to it. So I guess, okay, should we do it out of 5? Is 5 going to be enough? Should we go 10?
Let's go 10. I want to go 10. Yeah.
So on a hype level of 1, you're not going to pre-order it, you're not going to play it, you're 0 interest, sad times, bad game, to 10, you've ordered the duvet cover. Yeah.
Nothing is going to replace my Sweaty Sean duvet cover.
Well, that's true. Okay, so you've got the poster there, maybe the pillow covers. You've got First Light on that, something like that. Yeah. So from 1 to 10, where are you at when it comes to First Light?
I would say I am a solid. Joe, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say 9. I'm going to say 9.
Very nice.
I'm going to say 9. Yeah. How about you?
I think I would probably go 7. A bit lower. I guess for me, like, because I'm pre-ordering it, and the idea of a James Bond game is so, exciting. Like, I can't do a 5. Like, a 5. Just on the idea alone of a new James Bond game, for me, brings it up. But again, I've got my concerns. I'm not a little more than cautiously optimistic. I do think it's going to be good. But I think I'm starting to see a bit of a rockier foundation here than perhaps I would have liked. But again, I think there's way more positive than negative. And I'm still overall excited about the idea of Bond and a new Bond game. It's just, yeah, some of the gameplay seems a little bit off. Doesn't quite seem right, but overall still seems very good. And I'm still not convinced by this young Scar Bond. So that's still going to take some time. So I don't know what it would take to get me higher than that. But I think I haven't seen anything that's majorly put me off. I've just not seen anything to make me really excited. So for me, it's like a 7. And I guess just to put it into perspective, I guess I've pre-ordered Silent Hill F, which comes out this month, and I'm probably like on a 9 for that. So I can get there. But for me, something like a Silent Hill F is more exciting than this James Bond First Light game. But again, a 7 for me is still pretty high. Like I'm pre-ordering this to get it day 1, so that's pretty. It would take a lot to knock that down, and I haven't seen anything all that bad to make me think that's even a possibility at this point.
Yeah, for Tom's scale, you have to sort of like transpose it all, right? So your
Okay.
7 is maybe
Yeah.
someone else's 9, me, for example.
You're 9, yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're just.
are you the happy one? Are you the positive one?
I think I am.
Oh, how did that happen?
I don't know. I don't know. It really is just the case that for modern gaming today, there's not a lot out there for me. I still watch these Gamescom presentations or Summer Games Fest or whatever it is now that replaces E3 or the Nintendo Directs. I still watch them. I don't really know why, Tom. I don't know why I watch them because there's nothing there that interests me. I don't have any interest in these franchises anymore. So this is my moment. This is finally
Yeah.
my time to shine. So I'm a 9. That all rhymed.
Well, yeah, very nice. Yeah, pretty fine. Yeah. But I'm glad you're there. I'm glad that's where you're at because I guess this almost feels like a make and break for modern gaming for you. Like if this is rubbish,
Oh God,
then you're just like whatever. I'll just go back in my cave. I don't need this.
I'm gonna go just to crosswords only and never touch video games ever again.
Crosswords.
I'm on the verge already. So
you're not
we'll
that far
see.
away.
I'm really not.
You're not that far. It's a dangerous position. But no, I would say overall quite positive. I think a little disappointed by some elements with this gameplay reveal, but I would say thumbs up, right? Thumbs up for it so far.
Oh, good. So you got 3 thumbs up from the Bond Revisited podcast today. I've got 2.
There we go.
Right,
Put
just
that
to
on the
explain.
cover.
We're not like some freaks or anything that have got like. Yeah. I've got 2 thumbs up. Tom's got 1.
Yeah, you've got 6. I've got 4 thumbs.
Oh no.
The whole thing. Right, but that's not the only thing that's been going on, is it, Joe?
No, it's been a little bit more. So, you remind me again when this was. Was it back in May, March?
So this was also June. So this was also a Summer Games Fest thing. We got the First Light thing because IO Interactive they actually did their own presentation because they're independent at this point because they're a publishing now. So they did their own mini presentation which had this stuff in and also this extra thing that Joe is about to explain for everyone.
Okay, I'm going to probably explain it really badly because I'm not a Hitman gamer, but
And you're drunk.
And I've had a lot of Pinot Grigio. But yeah, so back in June, IO Interactive, they announced for their World of Assassination game, which is basically sort of their combination of all the Hitman things they've been doing recently. That you can buy as, well, you don't have to buy it, it's free, and then you kind of buy what you want in it, I suppose. They were going to have some 007 licensed elusive target missions, which are kind of standalone missions using I think previous assets. I think the level in the ones we played is in the original game.
Was it really?
Yeah, I think it's just been dressed up to look like a casino or whatever.
Oh, they did a pretty good job with that then, because it did not feel like that at all. I thought it felt pretty. I mean, I know it's not spot on to the film because the front of it alone, you're like, well, that's not quite right. But yeah, I thought they actually did a really good job. Yeah, that's cool to hear.
So yeah, they had a special version of that which featured Le Chiffre from Casino Royale. Actually, Mads Mikkelsen came back to do the voice acting, and obviously it looks like him in the game, and that's your target. As not as James Bond to kill, but as Hitman. Does he got a name or is it just Hitman?
Yeah, just Agent 47.
Oh yeah, 47. That's his name. Yeah. So that was really cool. I missed it the first time around because these are timed events, at least to play for free, and then they become sort of paid add-ons you can get to replay. But then thankfully they've done it again. They've done it again for around the time we're recording this, which is around August. So Tom and I thought it'd be good to give these a little play. I say these, it's only one level, just before this, and talk about it briefly. So Tom, what did you think?
So, okay, we got to get into this a little bit. Yeah, we got to get into this a little bit because we were talking about, we should play this mission. And then neither of us are Hitman people, right? We're not Hitmen.
Well,
I'm assuming that's what they were.
I am bald, and I have got a barcode on the back of my head, but apart from that, no.
I didn't want to mention that. I think that's rude. We don't body shame here.
No.
But no, like we were like, let's do this, and then it became a whole process of me and you even just trying to figure out what this is, how it works, what you need to get. I ended up paying some money for it. You didn't. I didn't know. I was a fool. Because it's so confusing, and I don't want to fully explain it because again I don't want to go on another modern gaming is rubbish old man rant. Let's just say this is super messy. So in theory, you can play it for free, but it's not that simple. You have to download this giant game, and then it's like free to play kind of, and then go to like a specific mission, and then that's timed. Complete mess. I hate it. I think it's awful. But again, it's not for me. This is clearly not for me. So I just want to get it out of the way. Like me and you both got it wrong in terms of like, we're Bond, because that's the thing. We're Bond fans. So you think we are the who haven't played Hitman, and we're very excited about First Light. You would assume once again we are the target audience to be brought in by this, to say, oh, let's have these guys play this mission. Maybe they like it and play more Hitman, and we get them as fans. But I was just so bloody confused about how any of this worked that like I was already like frazzled by the time I actually played it. So we did get it to work. But I think that's very important here. If you don't know Hitman, this is strange. You don't have to pay for it, but I did when I didn't have to, which is just leaves a bit of a sour taste in the mouth because it's just awful.
Tom, if we recorded, so we were on Discord while we were discussing this, and if we had recorded our conversation when we were doing that, and people heard it, it would be the most embarrassing, pathetic audio. Yeah. We were just there going like, oh, is it? No, wait, no, hang on. Oh, wait, is this no, this is paid for. Hang on. No, it's just that's kicked me out. No, that's not. It was honestly, it was verging on like comical how long it was taking us to work out the simplest thing, just how to access this one mission. But we got there.
I mean, I guess it's the equivalent for us. It's like boomers can't print anything, right? It's like millennials can't access content in video games. Like it was our moment of just saying, oh, is this the button? Oh, I'm on the PlayStation Store. I don't know where I am.
Yeah, so you played it on PlayStation. I played it on Steam. So that's the slight difference there. But I'm going to let you go first, Tom, because I'm sure you did a lot better job than me.
No, I did a terrible job.
Okay, thank God.
So again, just to reiterate, not a Hitman guy. I'm not actually that interested in Hitman either. I don't dislike stealth games, but there's just something about Hitman I just don't care about it. I've had years to play this game. I didn't. That's not just because I've been so busy. I just don't care. So this was like me being complete noob, and I didn't kill him. I'm just going to admit it. Never ended up killing him. That never happened. I didn't even get close. Because the first time, so basically you go into the casino and you get free options of how to enter the poker game. Because it's trying to recreate what happens in Casino Royale. And it actually does a very good job of it, to be fair. Even though a bit like First Light, where you're like, oh, I'm a young Bond, this looks weird. In this one, you are a bald hitman assassin dude doing everything James Bond.
When a big gust of wind.
A little bit, yeah. But yeah, you're Agent 47, so to me that was a little bit strange. But again, you do all the stuff in Casino Royale. You go into the casino, you get an invite to the game, you can play against Le Chiffre, you can get captured by Le Chiffre and go through the torture scene, which I think is really awesome. And then there's lots of different ways it can go out, and you basically kill Le Chiffre in many different ways. I got stuck trying to get into the poker game. That never happened for me.
Wait,
so
what?
I gave it. That never happened. So I gave it 2 attempts. The first attempt, I saw all the different options because you have 3 options of how to get the invite. I then decided, right, there's a woman on the right side. I should be able to get the invite from her somehow. And I just got annoyed with it because she wouldn't talk to me. And it's like, I get enough of this in real life. I don't need virtual women ignoring me. This is I'm triggered. This is very upsetting. But I'm assuming you had to do something with her drink because she kept coming back and reordering it, saying, no, get it right. I want a vodka martini. And she says shaken, not stirred, which I was like, that's a nice reference, but also weird. But I couldn't figure that out. So I pushed her off a balcony. And everyone was like, okay. Oh, you just pushed that woman off a balcony. And then, again, I don't really know the game, so I was like, what do I do? But then I couldn't search the body, so I didn't even get the invite. And then they just all shot and killed me just because I pushed a woman over. It's weird.
You don't do that in real life as well, do you?
Well, that's for the courts to decide.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
So what that then meant is that I died and I failed. So as part of this weird way that this mission works, I bought the DLC to get permanent access, but I had to wait 12 hours to do it again. I wasn't allowed to just retry. So after pushing this woman and failing, I got put in the naughty corner, and had to wait 12 hours. So I was like, right, well, I guess I'll play this tomorrow then, I suppose. I end up being busy tomorrow because, again, I'm an adult. I can't just keep coming back every 12 hours to play this one mission. So then I ended up skipping it, and then I only gave it one other go. And what happened that time is that I was like, right, she's a dead end. I tried to then do the gambling option, which is where basically you can put forward 10 million in chips and gamble against someone to get their invite. And as far as I can tell, it's always red 5. That's the correct one. If you bet on that, you always win. I'm assuming there's some way in game that you can figure that out. I didn't. I put it on 12 because that's my birthday. I lost 12 million, didn't get it. I was like, right, well, that's a dead end. And then I spoke to somebody else who was like, right, you can go and kill someone up on the balcony for me. I'll give you the invite. And then I went upstairs. Everyone freaked out. Was like, you're not meant to be up here. I thought maybe I'll go hide in the bathroom. That didn't fool them. And then they shot me and killed me. And then I had another 12-hour wait. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch this on YouTube. So I then watched it on YouTube. So that's how I know about it. But in terms of my successful attempts, there were no successful attempts. So it went horribly, but I saw it on YouTube and it looked kind of cool. I just only wish I could have played it myself, but that didn't happen.
Tom, that is just diabolical. That is honestly, I expected more from you. I really did.
Well, she started it. I don't know what to tell you.
So I'm assuming from that you didn't play any sort of tutorial.
What?
Did you play any tutorial just to get an idea of the controls and the mechanics and stuff?
What?
Okay.
No.
I was smart. I actually did that. I was like, you know what? If I've got one shot for this, I'm going to do the tutorial, which did help because otherwise I probably would have pressed. Well, actually, the game's pretty good for giving you all the sort of what the button's going to do, what the keys are going to do. So I was always worried about accidentally snapping someone's neck, just in broad daylight. It was fine. But I did play the tutorial. Big help, just in terms of knowing what, when someone has a dot above their head, that means they can spot you easier, blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. I would not have known that otherwise. Yeah, I got to say, in comparison to that, I did pretty darn well.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So I got into the poker game. I did it. Nice. I did do it through the lady. I managed to poison her. I didn't push her. I poisoned her. I got some rat poison. I
Good to know.
I went to the bar. I pretended to be a barman, and I got a new outfit. So she ran off puking in the bathroom. Went in there with her old snappy snap of the neck, and then there you go, got the invite. And as you say, the rest of it up until a point, great. Like it really does turn into like Casino Royale, the game. You're in the poker game, and even when I played it, I was like saying to myself, right, rule number 1. Don't accept a drink from the chief. What do you do when you walk in? You go have some champagne with him. And then lo and behold, you get poisoned after the first round.
Is that automatic or can you choose not to drink it? Do you know?
I saw a really good flowchart someone made of all the different outcomes. I can't remember. I think you do have to do that to start the poker game.
Right.
So you're always going to get poisoned and then, you get tied up, you get rescued by the Felix Leiter character, and I was like, oh, is this a new character that is meant to be a bit like Felix Leiter? But no, that is just a character in Hitman. He's just, the American agent that comes in, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he's from like Blood Money or something. Like he's a proper character, I think.
Agent Smith. Yeah, he was good. And anyway, so once you've escaped, you have to go back in and basically just kill the chief. Try again. That's where I started to have some issues. I walked around a lot and I found a lot of different things going on, kind of worked out his route, and you could see he goes into a room and that's where he takes his eye drops, and that's another way you can do it is you can poison his eye drops, which was pretty interesting. It's like really mad some of the outcomes you can actually do, and that's why I was saying earlier about the flexibility obviously with Hitman games. You can even go as far as actually beating him in the poker game and then he gets taken out by the cartel or whoever it is that's asking for their money. I didn't get that far. Basically, I got a little bit tired, and this is where the whole idea of you only have one shot, else you have to wait 12 hours. What that means is I was so apprehensive to experiment with anything because I just thought if this goes wrong, then I'm screwed, and I actually want to try and do it. So it was really kind of limiting in a way, which sucks. I always felt like I had to play it overly safe, but then that just meant I got bored. So in the room with the little poker table, I saw at one point the chief goes out onto the balcony. And so I just went over and pushed him over the balcony.
Yes, yes,
and
Joe.
Then I went to run away, and I got stuck on one of the guards, and they just killed me. So I didn't do it either. Although the chief did die technically, I just didn't get out.
Yeah.
So that's a success. You know, MI6 would consider that a success. They would have lost an agent, but Le Chiffre would be dead. So there you go.
There we go. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, again, I think that was... I mean, I guess how much you like this mission is how much you like Hitman. And yeah, I'm kind of with you with the 12-hour thing. I don't like that at all because I feel like Hitman is meant to be fun when you're allowed to experiment and try different things. And you can go online and be like, here's 10 different ways to kill the chief. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's what a cool... Like, it seems so well put together and thought through. And just having all these different outcomes, and the fun of it would be experimenting with that and seeing what you get and seeing how you do those and seeing how that plays out. But like, it doesn't feel like it works that way. Now, I don't know if you're successful. I'm not sure if you still have to wait the 12 hours. I just don't know. This game is such a complicated mess. I just don't know. But again, for me, I'm the same as you. I want to try different things, but the game is designed in a way that means you can't do that, which just feels very odd. It'd be like if you were playing GTA and if you get killed by the police, you have to wait 12 hours, so you just drive normally and don't do anything weird. It's like, well, I am still playing the game and doing missions and doing things, but I want to just have fun as like a sandbox, and these feel like mini sandboxes, but they don't quite allow you to do that. Especially for me, and you can still do this anyway, you know, it's James Bond content. What do we want to do as James Bond fans with this sort of thing? We want to go and find Easter eggs. Like, we want to just go and check stuff out and just see all the little cool things that they've put in there, but it's not really designed to allow you to do that. And I'm assuming there's a ton of cool references in there. Like, you can probably find some really interesting things. Again, I think all this stuff, especially with IO Interactive, they are Bond fans who really know their stuff. But then this is structured in a way that doesn't really let you do that, which I just find very, very bizarre. It feels like it's at odds itself. This should be something that you should play over and over again, scraping everything you can find from it. But they very deliberately set it up so you can't, and that doesn't feel good. It's not what I want to do with this type of mission.
No, it doesn't feel satisfying. It feels satisfying. Well, it felt satisfying seeing it on YouTube. Oh, all the different ways you could do it, and then you realize, I didn't do that because I couldn't.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, then that kind of takes the wind out of your sails a little bit. But I guess for me, the benefit or the silver lining to it was, I saw the mechanics in play, and I saw that this is the sort of stuff that's going to be in the First Light game without this stupid 12-hour limit. So that gave me confidence in, and I knew it to an extent as well, like about the stuff that Hitman lets you do, but just being able to play it and have that Bond layer of paint on top, that was great. I was like, this has really filled me with some optimism. However, just one more minor nitpick as well. One very stupid thing. So I don't know whether this, I guess it didn't happen to you because you didn't mention it, but for me, I spent a long time walking around the casino, scoping it out, looking around, overhearing conversations. Everyone's having conversations. And I thought, maybe that'll be a way into something. And this was after I'd sort of triggered some of the different options for how to get into the poker game. I guess I just spent too long because at a certain point I'd got the rat poison. I was there at the bar. The lady was gone. She was gone. Then I went over to the American agent guy. He'd buggered off. And I had the guy at the roulette table. So I guess it's also, there's a time limit. If you don't do it quick enough, everyone just leaves and goes to the poker game.
I guess it's not showing up. All right, I guess we'll just go then.
All right, let's just play then. So
that makes sense in terms of the design of a Hitman level, but it does not make sense if it's just gonna. again, if it's going to block you from playing it, that just seems like a really unsatisfying reason to have that happen.
Yeah, thankfully I could restart. That one, it did let me restart and do it straight
Right.
away.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
because I didn't die, so it was fine. But yeah, some strange decisions for that Hitman game, honestly.
And if we're talking about strange decisions and nitpicks, it was driving me mad how they were saying his name.
Oh my
Did
god!
you pick up on this?
So I recorded this because I'm going to upload it on my YouTube channel. Me playing it, and I say in the video I cannot say Le Chiffre's name like that because everyone does it with that weird sort of French sound at the end.
Yeah, they just say Le Chiffre.
Le Chiffre, and it's like
Chiffre.
I'm not saying it like that because I can't, and also I don't want to. I did pick up on it as well, and I did not like it.
I don't understand that at all. I'm assuming it's something where they looked it up and was like, okay, well, technically that's a French name, so the way you would pronounce it is Le Chiffre. But I then was like, no, it's Le Chiffre. Isn't it? So then I went and watched the trailer for Casino Royale because I was like, I'm sure that's what they say.
I'm sure
and
M
in the
says
trailer,
it like that.
M says like, we need you to take down Le Chiffre.
Oh, thank God, Judi Dench. I trust her.
So Judy's there. She's a dame. She knows what she's doing. So she says Le Chiffre again, and I'm pretty sure in the entire film they say that. So even if Le Chiffre is more correct in terms of the name itself, this is directly recreating a film where they say it differently. So it's just incredibly distracting that everyone is saying it differently to the film. Because at a certain point, it doesn't matter how you're meant to say it, right? Say it how it is in the film. If that's what we're doing, say it in the film. Like, say it the same way. Why would it be different? And it's super distracting because everyone says his name all the time. Like, you have the briefing, and then you're just like, "Where's Le Chiffre?" And then like everyone's like, "Oh, Le Chiffre is upstairs." And it's like, "Oh, just stop." But actually, I think the guy who's gambling, he says Le Chiffre.
Oh, thank goodness. Some sanity in this casino.
Yeah, but he says Le Chiffre. I guess he just didn't get the note. It's just everyone else that says Le Chiffre, and it's just like, it's so unnecessary. I don't know why they did that. And it's super distracting because that's just not how they say it in the film. So it seems very, very needless. But I did spot a couple of errors in the subtitles, some grammar stuff. So, it's just full of rookie mistakes.
Oh, honestly, we just needed a little video game Judi Dench in the corner, just going around and correcting people. No, and that would have been perfect.
I would have loved that, yeah. Well, you can buy the Judi Dench DLC, but it's only available during Tuesdays. So that's how you got to do that.
I'll be there.
You're right there every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, I guess in summary, not convinced to play Hitman, but I guess it's just really nice to see more James Bond stuff. I think I was super excited for this because it's just such a cool idea. But in terms of the end result, yeah, it's just not my type of game. And I don't think the Bond elements did enough to make me overcome that. So yeah, I didn't get much out of it, but again, cool idea, I guess.
Yeah, as I say, without all the silly mechanics around it, and if I could fully kind of experiment and not worry about that, I would have really enjoyed it more. So if it's in the First Light game, I'm going to enjoy it there.
Yes. So I think that's everything caught up in terms of the Bond video games. I don't think anything else has happened. There's still that mobile game, isn't there?
Yeah, which I still haven't played.
Yeah, I don't even know if you can. I feel like that had a weird episode thing as well, but I guess don't expect any coverage on that anytime soon. I'm not that interested.
Yeah, no one really talked about that very much, did they?
No, was it Cypher? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
That's the one where you go inside your own head and there's like two versions of Bond, you and then the one in your head doing the memories.
You've lost me now.
Have you not heard that? That's what it is. You're going inside, there's like two versions. There's the outside Bond and you play as the memory head Bond. And that's why you're going through all these older films, because you're memory head Bond.
Oh.
But then of the other Bond, that you're inside Bond's head, but the actual Bond is like doing stuff that doesn't make sense. So you need to unlock like the memories inside your own head to to figure out why Bond is being like evil or something.
Blimey. You know what, I wouldn't say this very often, but I think 007 Legends might have done that better.
I think
Goodness gracious.
Well. Crumbs. Yeah, it's a complete mess. But I guess that's just where we're at. That is sadly where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, we got 6 thumbs up for First Light. Maybe Maybe. Probably only 2 thumbs up for Thingy-Majig or Hitman. But I guess it's still very positive all around in terms of James Bond and video games.
It's great. And, even if we might have sounded a little bit negative here and there, it's because we care.
Yeah.
We complain because we care, all right? And we're getting stuff. We're getting games. We're getting news. So we're going all in on it, all right? We're going to nitpick. Let us.
Yeah, why would you listen if this is not what you want? I don't know.
If you listen to a 7.5 hour video podcast about No Time to Die, then you can listen to however long this has ended up, all right?
I think so. I think that's only fair.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we should just go and pre-order then. To Amazon?
Yeah, I'm going to go get the Golden Gun one. I've changed my mind.
No, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, me too.
No savings this month.
Or next month.
Or next month.